Welcome to another edition of Points of Interest, brought to you by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. As we do each week, we present you with the activities going on during this week in Lebanon, and have a special guest to speak about a particular program. This week being no different, we have with us this week, we have Lynne Grigelevich, who is the Executive Director of the Ledyard Charter School, and will be speaking about the school and its activities here in Lebanon. But first, the activities this week. The big event going on this week at downtown Lebanon is we have the Temptations coming to town, and they are this Friday, November 30th at 7:30 p.m. at the Lebanon Opera House. I would suggest anybody's interested to hurry and get reservations, because I'm sure they're going to be filled out before too quickly. Coming up, and that's this particular Friday. Also, every Wednesday, the SCORE, which is the Society of Retired Executives, which has their office on the third floor of the Citizens Bank building, are welcoming walk-ins from 9 to 1 for anybody who needs advice, support, whatever, in starting a new business, working on the business they already have going, and it's totally free. And so 9 to 1 every Wednesday at the SCORE office, third floor at the Citizen Building in Lebanon. Also, I have good news this week. We've talked about this for a number of years, actually. West Lebanon, 12A, Route 12A, all of the construction has been done. Traffic is moving beautifully. I went through there through the Thanksgiving weekend, and the traffic was moving beautifully both sides. And so if you're considering shopping in West Lebanon, feel free, because you're going to in and out, get to the stores you want to, and without any issues. If you don't want to go to West Lebanon, well, we have other opportunities here in downtown Lebanon. Ava Gallery is doing a crafts fair from 11 to 5 every day at the gallery, and you can get things made locally from local artists. It's a little more personable if you want to a painting, a sculpture, or that type of thing. You can stop by at Ava Gallery and pick that up if you so wish. And in addition, in what we call the old Shutorium building, which is now owned by Lebanon College, the Arts and Crafts Association are doing Christmas fair sales there, and they run 7 days a week from 10 in the morning to 9 at night. And so you're able to pick up any items that you want at there also. And you're right downtown if you really don't want to get into West Lebanon and do that particular route. And then we have the Bel Canto Chamber Singers in Lebanon. This is at the First Congregational Church at 3 p.m. Next Saturday, and that's right here in downtown Lebanon. So you can hit the bel cantos, do some shopping, and of course eat at the fine restaurants that are here in downtown Lebanon. Iliad is offering author luncheon, and that's going to be in Lebanon at the Marriott Courtyard, 11:30 a.m. on Friday of this week. And it's going to be an afternoon with O. Ross McIntyre. He's an author of Paddle Beats. And anybody who's interested, at 11:30 at the Marriott on Friday, Marriott Courtyard. Now, Courtyard is different from Residence Inn. If you're going up Route 120, it's on the right-hand side as you go into Centera Park. And so people sometimes get confused. We have Sylvia is in Enfield, 7:30 p.m. at the Shaker Bridge Theater on 23 Main Street in downtown. And it's a play put on by the Sylvia and her husband and wife, team. And that is on Saturday also at in downtown Enfield. So we have a lot of activities going on in the Upper Valley this week, and continued so, and we'll have more so. Of course, in Enfield, we have the illuminations that went on last Saturday evening at the Enfield Shrine, and they go on 5 to 9 every evening. and they'll run until New Year's night. So if you want to see some beautiful lights and such, Enfield at the Shrine on Route 4A in Enfield. So there's plenty to do in the Upper Valley for this coming week. And we invite Lynne to our program, to Points of Interest, to speak about Ledyard Charter Schools. But before we get to Ledyard Charter Schools, your background, Lynne, and how you got into this, or where you're from, and your education, that type of thing.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Paul.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, I've been in education for 18 years. I actually grew up in New England. I'm a New England girl at heart, Massachusetts. And every year my family would bring us to New Hampshire for vacation. And when I was 12, I told my father I was going to live here one day because it was the most beautiful place on earth. Things brought me to Florida in the interim. I spent many years in Florida, and that's where I graduated from college, began my teaching career. I was an English teacher for many years, and did some administrative work as well. I have a bachelor's degree from University of South Florida, and have done a lot of different roles in the school besides being the English teacher for many years. And when I decided a couple of years ago I was coming to New Hampshire, I opened the School Spring online and found this position advertised. And I felt like it was the position I was meant to be in. A calling of sorts. It was to run a small charter high school for at-risk, disengaged students in the Upper Valley, and I just thought that sounds like what I want to do. I love teenagers. I think they're the most fun people on the planet. I'd rather hang out with a teenager than anybody else. They're entertaining, they're creative, they're just wonderful people. And so all the years I put into the schooling and teaching and administrative, it all led me to this position, and I flew myself up for an interview in the spring of 2011. And after several interviews, I was offered the position and moved here in July of 11 and started, and it is everything and more that I ever wanted in a career move. It's just the best. I love it. I wake up every day and I love going to work.
Give us a little history about charter schools, because it's a new concept here in New Hampshire,
Yes.
and there's been some controversy and some funding issues, that type of thing. So a little bit on what charter schools are.
Charter schools in New Hampshire, they vary from state to state, but for the most part, in New Hampshire, charter school is a public school of choice. There are charter schools for all ages. They're free and open to anybody in New Hampshire, any student in New Hampshire. And most of the time, a charter school will focus on an area. There are, I believe, 17 charter schools in New Hampshire now. 17, and they range everywhere from Academy of Science and Design, where that's the focus of their program. PACE is a performing arts charter school, so the focus for their program would be performing arts. Their North Country, wonderful charter school, North Country Charter School in Littleton area. They focus on credit recovery and, again, at-risk students. So a charter school is usually founded with the support of the community and the school district and the community often to service a particular part of the population that may benefit from that kind of program. It is still a public school. Everyone who attends a charter school gets a regular New Hampshire diploma. We still have standards that we need to meet. There's a curriculum we need to deliver. Our renewal, every 3 years we go up for renewal, so we're on a checks and balances system with the state. We have to submit an accountability report every year, an audit. So it's very much a public school entity. There's some differences in funding, which I can talk about in a little bit, but for the most part, a charter school focuses on a group of a population that would be better served in that program than perhaps in the regular education setting.
So I remember 100 years ago when I was in high school. To get into college, I had to have 2 years of a language, 3 years of a math, 2 years of history, and all of that, which I'm sure hasn't changed that much. So how do you incorporate that in your schedule?
It hasn't changed a lot, and yet it also has changed. In terms of colleges, look for a lot of different things, a lot of well-rounded, a well-rounded program, a well-rounded student, and yes, all of those factors are still in place. Given that a charter is written based on a particular focus for a group of students, it still doesn't negate the end result of what is required by the state. What happens is the path to get there might be different. So while we still, at Ledyard Charter School, we still meet the requirements of English and history and science, languages, we can create what's called a blended curriculum, which means there may not be 3 distinct years of 3 distinct maths that happen, but that math is woven into the program so that all of the concepts are met. So we do follow the Common Core and the New Hampshire standards for education. So the students very much get that curriculum, but in a different way. So what is being addressed is still what those colleges are looking for. How it's being addressed is why the students are more successful in this program than they may have been in another. It's the manner of teaching them. That's what's different.
And I sit on a college acceptance board. Do I look differently at a charter school student than a regular school student?
It's
because of the program, as you mentioned.
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I'm going to say yes, you would look at it differently only in the fact that the manner of instruction is different. But I think what's interesting, and I'll speak just about my school, is that it's not just a content and a knowledge curriculum, it's a skills and a foundation of how to be a successful member of society and a contributing member of society, be a well-rounded individual. So I think yes, if you were sitting on a college board, you'd have to look at it differently, but if you were to look at the program, you'd realize that there's so much to it that really helps this young adult become a well-rounded, successful young adult, and there's no piece that's missing in terms of content, but what's added to it is the strengthening of the person at the core to succeed anywhere in life. Not just I've taken these 3 math classes, so I've really aced this math concept, but we work more on problem solving and those kinds of concepts that can transfer into other life. So yes, I think someone would look at it differently, but no more or less.
Now, Ledyard School was founded in what year?
Ledyard Charter School was it was chartered in 2007. It opened its doors February 2009. So it's fairly young. It's only in its 4th year.
So, have you had experience with students that have gone on to college
Yes.
from the program?
Yes.
Okay. And gone to...
Well, the first graduating class, I believe, was 7.
Okay.
We've had a few more each year. Last year was 13. And we've had students who have gone to the Vermont Culinary Institute, Franklin Pierce, Lebanon College, River Valley Community College. I believe that was all. Those are the 4 colleges that we've hit so far, yes.
And you mentioned, the school is geared to students that are having issues or learning things?
It's interesting because it was founded with a certain direction, and it kind of morphed into something else, and it's back on to the track that it was originally chartered for, which is for the outside-the-box, creative, hands-on learner who really wanted to have some contribution in the forming of his or her curriculum. Part of the plan is an individual learning project, an independent learning project. So the students get to choose a part of their curriculum, a focus of what they want to learn about, and then the teachers guide them with a very set path and structure on how to research and investigate what they're interested in learning in. So really, when you look at what the charter is written for, which is that disengaged student, disengaged can mean many things. It can mean I'm bored. It can mean
I'm bored.
It can mean I'm bored. It can mean going through the textbook chapter by chapter just because that's what the textbook says doesn't mean anything to me. I need something that's more relevant to me. It can be that they have a particular learning style that is much more visual and hands-on than maybe your regular curriculum will deliver. A lot of regular curriculum is geared toward the auditory learner, which is the reading and the lecture and the notes. And in reality, that's the least, the fewest number of people learn that way. The greatest learning style is visual. So if you've got our population who really need the visual and the hands-on, they're not going to do well in a very typical classroom setting. So the disengaged or the at-risk comes from those things, not necessarily a learning disability or a behavior issue, more that the way that we stick with the old way of teaching, the old school format, isn't working with some kids. So that's why our charter school was founded, to serve those kids. Yeah.
My oldest son is auditory learner, and went to here in Lebanon, and my wife, being a former school teacher, worked closely with him, and I can't say enough of the Lebanon School District for the work they did with him. So he went off, graduated from Lebanon High School, went off to Castleton State, which they have a program there, got a degree in criminal justice, and so I can relate to auditory learners, of the program. Are you growing in numbers?
Yes.
Seems to be.
Yes, we are growing in numbers, and I'm incredibly grateful to the Lebanon school system because they have really risen to a partnership with me, which is really what the ideal is. The ideal is for school districts to come together and work to serve their population. And some students do very well at Lebanon High School in their program. Great program. Some students do better at Ledyard Charter School. So last spring, after 13 had graduated, we had 17 students returning. Right now we have 38. So we've had a nice growth. I'd rather grow slowly. I think it's better all around. I also went to a trimester schedule because we do a lot of work with Dartmouth. And so I cut off enrollment at a certain point in the trimester so that everyone can settle into the classes, the social atmosphere. No one comes in and, they're far behind. So we're growing at a nice rate. It works well for the community. It's not underwhelming nor overwhelming. It's a nice pace, and we've welcomed a lot of great kids this year. It's been a wonderful, wonderful year.
Is it difficult to find a faculty to teach in this different type of environment than a regular public school system?
I would say that you have to be the kind of teacher that buys into what I have set as the fundamental foundation of the school. And if you are, it's not difficult at all. I believe firmly that the most important aspect of any working relationship, whether it's in a school, an office, home, is you have to work on the relationship. You have to build and foster a relationship with someone before you can achieve anything. So the teachers that I look to hire need to be invested in getting to know these students as young men and women so that they can best work with them to help them succeed. In that instance, it's very interesting. I haven't had to go advertise. I've had teachers write to me and say that they've heard about the program and they'd like to be a part of the program. That's how I have hired my faculty. So they've sought me out, understanding what this program's about, and they're really interested in being a part of it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, Lynn, if anybody's interested in either enrolling, teaching, whatever, how do they contact you?
The best way is by email,
Okay.
because I'm a very busy woman. I wear about 8
You're
different
here
hats.
today, yes.
But the best way is by email, which I could share my email. It's exec director LCS. So exec, which is the first 4 letters of executive, then the word director, then LCS, which is Ledyard Charter School, at gmail.com. That's the best way. You can go onto our website, which has a lot of information. Speaking of events, this Saturday we're holding a wreath making clinic up at Walker Farm, because part of our curriculum, every Friday the students go up to Walker Farm in Plainfield and they get a hands-on curriculum that deals with entrepreneurship, sustainability, community, gardening, and this Saturday we're holding Come Make Your Own Holiday Wreath to support the living classroom part of Ledyard. So that'll be going on. That's on our website. That's another great way to get in touch with any of us. All the teachers' emails are on there. So those are probably the best 2 ways to get in touch. And the phone number of the school is 727-4772. And I'd love to hear from anyone, whether that be potential families, potential teachers, and we love volunteers, because I believe that the best thing we can do for our kids is to mentor and show them what it is to be a happy, successful adult, and they need to see that in action. So anyone who wants to come work with our students, we welcome them too. It's great.
And physically, you're located just up the street from the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce.
Yes,
That's
we are.
the school, the old School Street School,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's where you're physically located. If somebody wants to contact you.
Absolutely.
The Walker Farm is located. Is there a street, road, or whatever?
Yes,
people know
Walker.
for it?
Right. It's at 122 Sanborn Road in Plainfield, which if you are on 120 just past KUA, you hit Stage Road, you make a right, and then your very first right off of Stage Road is a beautiful dirt road named Sanborn Road. At the very top of it is Walker Farm. Beautiful place.
Excellent.
We'll be out there Saturday from 11 to 3.
Excellent. Very good. Well, we thank you very much for being with us this week in
Thank
our
you.
program with Points of Interest, and we hope people will contact you as the need may come. So we present you with another program, Points of Interest, for this week, and we will be back with another exciting program next week. So until then.